Welcome to the Pass Rush Podcast. It's your host, DJ Clinton, and I'm here today to talk about the top 5 NFL coaches I think that is on the hot seat right now, given how the NFL season has played out. Now, I do have 2 honorable mentions, so I want to get into those first. But before we do that, you already know here, since this is the Pass Rush Podcast, we sack the like button, we sack the subscribe button, we sack everything. Come on now, we sack everything. So here with the Patriots, they're not sacking everything. And that's probably due to the defensive star Matthew Judon being injured. The Patriots right now are sitting at 2-8. They lost their potential defensive rookie of the year as well with Christian Gonzalez. And even though they traded for J.C. Jackson from the Chargers, who I'll get to later on in this video, it's just been a struggle, right? Like for the Patriots, I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, get rid of Belichick or something has to change in New England. And they're right. You know, I don't think, though, the reason why I put him at honorable mention, I don't think yet you get rid of Belichick. I think there's still something there. Just the fan base is just so used to winning, right? You just got to do something for them to give it one more hoorah. Like you let Belichick know this is his hot seat year going into next year. I think that you go ahead and you bring back Josh McDaniels. I know that might be controversial there, but you bring back Josh McDaniels. You have him work with Bill O'Brien on the offensive side, and you do something there. Maybe, just maybe, Jimmy Garoppolo and Mac Jones aren't the answer. I think the Patriots are so used to doing more with less, that some way, somehow now that they're just used to being the team to do that. But before Brady got to the Patriots, they were known for a good rushing attack and a good defense. And right now, I think that's where you kind of focus the team to help whoever your quarterback is. Now, in the draft, I think someone that fits the Patriots style would be Drake May. I think you go and get Drake May next year. Other people might think Caleb Williams or something else. I know Shador isn't an option. You bring that fire and passion that you thought Mac Jones had coming out of his win with Alabama, and you do something there. But I think you just kind of wash your hands with this season. You see what you can do. You see what works, and you build for next year, and you go at it one more time with the whole unit, you know, the whole coaching staff before you blow the whole thing up. So with Belichick, I don't think you get rid of him yet. Now, number 2 on my honorable mention list, I will say, is Denver. With the Denver Broncos, I just feel like Sean Payton, even though they're sitting at 4-5, it's the way that he came into the team, right? He came in, he said the other coach sucked. He didn't, pretty much tell him he doesn't know how to coach. He wouldn't have this team doing X, Y, and Z. He's going to change how Russell Wilson been doing things. He's going to change how players been doing things when he gets to the team. So you come in with the bravado of change, but what they see at the beginning of the year, and I just have them on an honorable mention because they have changed a little bit as the season has progressed, but how they started the season was not pleasant at all, which leaves a bad taste and leaves the fans wanting to see so much out of you like they did in New Orleans. So, you come in with all that, and then you get 70 put on you from the Miami Dolphins. You kind of just look at them like, what is going on with your team? And you had all this, knowledge from the Saints, and you're just not producing that here with Denver. Now, they looked good recently, but Sean Payton and Belichick are, right up there in my top coaches of all time. I would have on my list like Lombardi, Tom Landry, Bill Parcells, Belichick, Mike Tomlin, Sean Payton, guys like that. Even Jimmy Johnson, guys like that. I have them on my list of all-time coaches, and I feel like with those all-time coaches, they kind of get more of a leeway. So with both of those teams, I think they just need a little bit more time before we totally fire them. But their seat is really, really warm. They got the heat warmer or on full blast. Now, to getting to the top 5 here, I'm going to go with Panthers with Coach Frank. I think his seat is pretty hot. They're 1-8. A lot of people will say, "Oh, he really wanted C.J. Stroud. He didn't want Bryce Young, and the management and the owners, they wanted Bryce Young and yada yada yada." Look, the Panthers for year after year after year since Cam Newton has been trying to find who their quarterback is going to be. And I ain't hear no complaining when Bryce Young was picked originally. Now that he's just not producing and C.J. Stroud is amazing, now they want to look at it like, oh, Monday night quarterbacking it. No, Bryce Young did good things in college. He could do good things in the pros. You just have to find what he does well and what you can do well with him. Okay, you might not be able to do quarterback sneaks because he's small, but you can still have a productive offense with that team. That team from top to bottom really don't need nothing but a few pieces to be right up there. Like, that team is talented throughout the roster when you go through it. But it's just what they're hanging their hats more so on the power struggle. I've seen rumors about like, oh, they have to dumb down the playbook for Bryce Young and X, Y, and Z, like all these other things. Forget all that. You need to focus on what he does well, what you can do well as an offense, and you go from there. Coach Frank was fired last year with the Colts mid-season. How does he go on to get hired with the Panthers to be the head coach this year over other qualified coaches? With him getting that type of privilege, he needs to do more with the opportunity. I just feel that way. You have to do more with the opportunity if you're given that spot over other qualified individuals. You come in, you make a culture of change, because that team that he left right now is 5-5 without Anthony Richardson at quarterback. So next, I want to move over to the Chicago Bears, I think, with Coach Matt there. I mean, what's up with Chicago, right? When I think of Chicago Bears, right, I think of Urlacher, Julius Peppers, Lovie Smith, Matt Forte. That's the days of the Bears I think about. And then before that, I think of the 85 Bears. Why is it that every time the Bears have a good defensive player, since those days, they get rid of them? They had a good corner with Fuller, got rid of him. Roquan Smith, get rid of him. Like, why do you get rid of the players that identify with the culture of the team, right? They need to hire a coach, because Coach Matt's seat is flaming hot, that identifies with the culture of the Chicago Bears and what people think about when they think about the Chicago Bears. No way you should be the Chicago Bears and not be producing on defense. It's in the blood of the team to be a good defensive team.
Coincidence? I think not.
They need a coach that comes in like Coach Antonio Pierce just did for the Raiders, who have passion, who has motivation, who understands where the players are coming from in today's age and relates to them. You have what some would consider a generational quarterback with Justin Fields. Look, I don't know if Justin Fields is that generational quarterback. I don't know if he fits what the Bears want to do offensively. Maybe the D2 sensation, Tyson Bagnet, fits better. If that is the case, you trade Justin Fields, you get a star defensive player, and you go from there. Justin Fields, you can still do a lot with him. You just have to you have to loosen up those straps around him, because he's kind of said it in interviews and things in the past that, oh, I don't feel like I'm being able to play the way I want to play. And however he wanted to word that, that's basically how he's getting to the point, right? That he just doesn't feel like he's getting to do what he wants to do behind the line of scrimmage. And I mean, you got film of him just missing easy passes, easy reads, stuff like that. But when you playing football and you're thinking too much, that's when the issues come into play. The identification of the Chicago Bears was set before you got there, and you got to piggyback off those commandments and make your team great. So number 3 on this list, you got the Green Bay Packers, right? So it's hard to be a Coach Matt in the NFL right now, because both of them are on this list. So with Green Bay, they're sitting at 3-7, right? And is Jordan Love the answer? Some would say yes, some would say no. But I think he can be the answer. This Green Bay team is not too many pieces away from being good, but being 3-7 is looking like they're too far away from that when they shouldn't be. You know, like the Green Bay defense has always been sound, but it's just not relating. You got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon at running back. It's just not producing. You got to do something. You got to look at what your team does well and start doing more of that, perfecting more of that in Green Bay. You're just milking those guys dry. And with the Vikings, they're doing more with less. You see what they decided to do? They bring in Joshua Dobbs. Their quarterback goes down. They bring in Dobbs, and then Dobbs goes out there and he produces without even knowing the playbook. He doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know the players. He doesn't know the plays. He doesn't know the coacher. He doesn't know anything. He just goes out there. He plays football. He plays freely. He plays loose, and he wins. Green Bay and Chicago, quarterbacks, what is going on? You go spade for spade. Jordan Love, more talented than Joshua Dobbs. Given Dobbs has been in the league longer, you would say he got more of the league knowledge. But Jordan Love spent years behind one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So statistically, you would say, okay, Green Bay's quarterback is supposed to be able to do those same things. Joshua Dobbs have won games on 2 NFL teams in the same year. You know, so you got to just look at what you're doing and understand that if other people are doing something, that you can do it too. And you should be doing it because you had a longer time to prepare for this moment. Everybody knew going into last year and then this year that Aaron Rodgers was potentially going to be out. Like that was just kind of just there mulling away. So you knew it was coming. So in this case, I mean, coach, you're on the hot seat because there's a coach out there who can turn that into a playoff team. Like I said, just a few pieces away, they can make that work. With number 2 on the list, you have the Atlanta Falcons. See, the Atlanta Falcons do not embody the culture of the city of Atlanta at all. You look at the Braves, they relate. You look at the Hawks, even though they don't win, culturally, they relate. They understand what the city of Atlanta is about on all demographics. And the Falcons just stick out like a sore thumb. They don't relate. They're 4-6, and that's a reflection of their culture, right? See, when the Saints were winning and they decided to win for, that city because of what happened with Katrina, they embraced the culture of the city itself with being resilient. Right now, Atlanta just doesn't do that at all. They're 4-6, and you'll say, okay, DJ, they can't win without a star quarterback, or you can't win in this league without a quarterback. Okay, Coach Arthur Smith, the last few years have believed in quarterbacks that many would think are not up to par, or at least playing up to par, or being put in a position to play up to par. When you look at situations like Joshua Dobbs, right? Joshua Dobbs been in the league, I believe, 7-8 years now after he came from Tennessee, and he's finally getting to show the confidence and resiliency and the play that he can produce at quarterback. You just have to have people that believe in you, and you have to, as a quarterback yourself, understand you got nothing else to lose. You do what you can do. Like, he really had nothing else to lose. He's a rocket scientist, a space engineer major. He can go do that right now. Man, smart is is who knows what. And he just like, you know what? I love this game of football. I'm going to just do whatever I can do, and I'm going to go out there and play freely. Atlanta don't have a quarterback that has done that. You have Mariota, and you brought in Mariota before you even decided to bring in Cam Newton. Like, Cam Newton is the city of Atlanta. Like, although he's egotistical and he's outlandish, but those are things that make Cam who he is. Like, I relate to those things. I understand those things because I grew up 90% of my life in Atlanta outside of my time in college. I was in Atlanta, so I understand the city of Atlanta. I understand that we have not come back from that 28-3 situation because for some reason we can't build a team like that again. You got games where Bijan Robinson is barely getting any touches. Why draft him if you're not going to get any touches? Why draft him in the top 10 when you got another running back in place that you give more carries to? It don't make sense. What are we doing? What are we doing in Atlanta? The Falcons are not fun to watch. Like, they're just not fun to watch. When Matt Ryan was there, everybody kept saying, and they can say that they didn't say that now, but I used to see it all the time on social media and in person. Oh, man, we got to get rid of Matt Ryan. Oh, man, we got to get rid of Matt Ryan. Look what they missing now. Matt Ryan. If Matt Ryan was still running this team, no way they 4-6. It's just really an identification crisis. That's where the Falcons are at. Because what are the Falcons known for? Are they known for an offensive team or a defensive team? What's their strength? What's their weaknesses? It's really hard to identify. So that's the issue in Atlanta. I think that's why Arthur Smith is on a hot seat right now. So number one for the hot seat list here. You got the LA Chargers. I think Coach Brandon Stanley has the hottest seat out of anybody in the NFL. And you'll say, DJ, why? There's, some teams up here with worse records. There are other possibilities. Look, the LA Chargers roster is playoff ready. They had a playoff win last year against my favorite team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars come back after Trevor Lawrence throw 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions now. And we still got to get him from throwing interceptions now. But he threw 5 interceptions. Came back to beat y'all. And they have not been the same team since. That entire culture has been ruined off of that moment for the LA Chargers. They don't look like a team that has all this talent. Come on, you're talking about a team with Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Darren James, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. Come on now, those are top tier talents. And you get to this point with the Chargers that you're still struggling. And it's a tough division. I get it. You got the Chiefs, you got the Raiders, and you got Denver, who's also an honorable mention on this list. I understand the Chiefs run that division, but you can't. How long are you just going to keep chasing them, right? When the Patriots was at the top of their division, the Dolphins were still making the playoffs sometimes, still pushing right behind them all the time. The Jets, when they had their hard knock years, they were still pushing right there with the Patriots, still getting right there with them. The Bills, still right there with them. They was a competitive division. At some points in time, the hardest division in football. And you still had multiple teams making the playoffs, doing their thing, and having a chance to win the championship. The LA Chargers right now, ever since they moved to LA, and I think that's probably part of the problem because the San Diego Chargers would never, they're just in this position where they're just not producing. That team lacks energy. They don't run the ball enough. You'll just say with the Falcons, oh, you can't win without a star quarterback. They have a star quarterback and everything else, and they still aren't producing. The issue has to lie within the culture that the coach set. It falls on his shoulders at this point, and you have to get somebody in there who relates to what the Chargers can be. And in some cases, in the last 2 years, if you going spade for spade here, the Chargers have had the better roster than the Chiefs. The Chiefs just had a more determined quarterback and coach. But outside of that, the Chargers roster has been better. No way you got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on side by side playing with each other and you're not producing. That's a quarterback nightmare, but they're not even being a quarterback nightmare. You see, it's just not making sense. So that's why the Chargers are the number one team on this list. The roster is too good. Talent is too talented on that team to be in the position that they're in. year after year after year after year, and especially last year after making the playoffs. So if they don't make the playoffs this year and at least get one playoff win, you got to get rid of the coach and you got to start over.
Shit. Here we go again.
That's my list. I'm out of here. See ya.
Wait, up and I shake the room.